Hello, everyone. My name is Adegoke, Professor of Supply Chain Management at the W.P. Carey School of Business, Arizona State University. And with me today.
Hi, my name is Anand Nair. I'm a professor of supply chain management at Demore McKim School of Business at Northeastern University.
And do you want to pick this up?
Yeah, so it was an interesting, few years, the last few years, where we have seen all these disruptions of various kind, from COVID to semiconductor shortages and so on and so forth. And, obviously, a lot of research that we've been doing has started looking at disruptions and how it has impacted our society at large, also how businesses have changed. So what has been your reflection on this work that we have worked on, this paper that we worked on? Something that you think back and reflect on, and if you can share a little bit about how you thought about it.
Anand, that's a very interesting question. I actually enjoyed working on this paper. Of course, I come from one of these markets because we focused on, low-income markets. And as you said, in the last few years, decade, disruption has been on the increase, especially supply chain disruptions. But at the same time, innovation has become very, very important. So the question then was, could these two seemingly unrelated phenomena, could they coexist or could they reinforce each other? And that was the main motivation for studying this topic. And our research question, if you remember, was how do supply chain disruption in particular and innovation trigger each other in low-income markets? We focused on low-income markets because of the unique constraints that these markets face. And we also wanted to understand the nuances, underlying the mutual causality between these two phenomena. So how did we carry out this work? We drew on constraint-based thinking. So a lot of literature review, looking at a few theories and also literature from the information processing and social capital theory, as well as literature on intellectual capital to try and uncover and understand the mutual causality between innovation and disruption on one hand and the mediating mechanisms as well as the moderating mechanisms that influence this mutual causality. But Anand, I would really like you to shed light on the key findings. In your opinion, was it worth it? What did we really find? And, how did we inform knowledge with this study that we've carried out?
Yeah, I think in addition to the literature base, I think we also tapped quite a bit into our own grassroots research work at these markets, mine in India and yours in Africa, in different parts of Africa. So there was that process that we went through where we went back and forth discussing how exactly these organizations are responding to, certain constraints that they have. So that was also a very interesting aspect of our research that we had to bring into this paper. So overall, I think it was a great experience, as you rightly pointed out. And the findings also were quite revealing and quite insightful in some way, because we were not really expecting some of these upfront when we started the process. What we realized is that supply chain disruptions and innovations are really mutually reinforcing each other. Mm-hmm. And so the disruptions are happening quite often, given the constraints that we have in these markets. But when we look at it from innovation perspective, we really have to consider innovation slightly differently for low-income markets. There are multiple dimensions that we have pointed out in our paper that need to be explicitly considered to understand this mutual causality between supply chain disruption and innovation. But more than just the mutual causality, which is important by itself as a finding, we also found some important moderating variables as well as mediating mechanisms. So as far as moderators are concerned, we reflected on our own experiences from the literature as well, how human and social capital really plays a forefront role in these markets. We realized how weak institutions can actually have an important role to play sometimes in really making this mutuality work out in these markets. And as far as resourcing is concerned, we all know that low-income markets are relatively, lacking resources. So how resourcing needs to be done was also something which was insightful. It's not a straightforward process. We have described it a little bit in the paper. Some autonomous resourcing has to happen, and then some directed resourcing also has to happen. And only when both of them are happening in a certain way that we believe that these kinds of reinforcing forces can actually be of good use for these markets.
Yeah.
From the mediating mechanisms perspective, we found information availability, structural changes that are happening, social equity within these markets. All these are important factors that actually create that mediating mechanism from innovation to supply chain disruptions. And then from supply chain disruptions to innovations, there are motivational factors, cognitive factors, and social factors that we elaborate on. So I think overall, it was a great experience understanding this process itself, understanding the moderators, understanding the mediating mechanisms, reflecting on literature as well as our own research experience. And we did find some great implications. I'm sure you would agree that some of these implications are new and can trigger theoretical, practical, as well as societal changes. Maybe you can talk a little bit about those implications that we found from this paper.
Yeah, thanks, Anand. It's interesting because a conceptual piece like this, the way we went about it and actually discovered that theoretically we informed quite a few areas of the literature. For example, supply chain integration literature, supply chain disruption, supply chain risk management, supply chain innovation. These are all areas that this study has an input into. Also, it was interesting. You just described the moderating and mediating mechanisms. We saw the impact of macro level and micro level issues that characterize constraints in low income markets, and we were able to elucidate the interplay between innovation and disruption in such markets. Looking at both the combination of macro level issues such as weak institutions and micro level issues such as human and social capital. Practically, we have implications for foreign companies, looking to invest in low-income markets. We also have implications for policy. You have governments who can put adequate policies in place to encourage positive disruptions, because when we talk about disruption, it's not only about negative disruptions, but we also have positive disruptions where innovations create new channels for supply chains and disrupt the channels that don't work very well. And then finally, we have societal implications, because many of these innovations lead to development, creating jobs for the society. So in summary, without taking too much time, those are the key implications from this study. Any other final points?
Yeah, it was a wonderful ride, learning about all these implications, understanding that how policymakers and organizations can work together. And many times these organizations are grassroots organizations, right? They don't have too much of resources, but they have people motivated to make a change in their own society. And because of those changes, there is a disruption that happens, and policymakers have to react to it in a way that can create a positive sort of mutually reinforcing mechanism.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think overall enjoyed working on this paper with you, and looking forward to how this paper is viewed by others who read this.
Yeah, same here. I really enjoyed working with you on this paper, and I will encourage everyone to read this paper. There are so many future research directions that we proposed in this paper that we hope people can take forward and actually move this field forward. Thank you very much, Anand.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.